You won't believe what happened in my quiet little neighborhood. There's always that one person who thinks the rules don't apply to them. Yeah, we all know a Karen like that. In this case, she's part of the HOA, and she decided to take something that wasn't hers. You see, I have a well, and the water is strictly for my property. But this HOA Karen, she sneaked onto my yard and used my well water to fill her giant slip and slide for her kids' party. No permission, no warning, just straight up entitlement. At first, I thought maybe it was a one-time thing, but then I caught her doing it again. That's when I realized this wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a clear invasion of my space and resources. So I decided to teach her a little lesson. Instead of just calling her out or going through the HOA drama, I swapped out the water she was using with something she definitely didn't expect. Well, sludge. Yep, I'm serious. But what happened after that? Did she notice? Did she get mad? Or did things spiral way out of control? Stick around because this story is far from over. You won't want to miss how the HOA drama escalates, and trust me, it gets wild. Let's dive into the chaos of entitled neighbors and what happens when you push someone too far. So here's the backstory. My neighborhood is one of those typical HOA communities where everyone's supposed to follow the same rules, but some people think those rules only apply to everyone else. HOA Karen has been on the board for a while, and she's known for pushing her weight around, especially when it comes to community resources like water. It's ironic, because the whole point of the HOA is to keep things fair, but somehow she always finds a way to bend the rules in her favor. My well water is my lifeline, literally. It's clean, fresh, and not shared with anyone else. I've worked hard to maintain it, and it's frustrating to see someone else using it without asking. The first time I noticed the water disappearing, I thought it was a leak or maybe a neighbor's accidental use. But then I saw her setup, the big slip and slide right on my property line, hoses running from my well to her backyard party. I wanted to handle this quietly, maybe talk it out or bring it up at the next HOA meeting. But Karen's attitude made that impossible. She's the kind of person who doesn't take no for an answer and loves playing the victim if anyone calls her out. So, instead of waiting for a confrontation, I made a move that would catch her off guard. But this wasn't just about the water anymore. It was about standing up to entitlement in a way she wouldn't forget. What happens next? Well, the whole neighborhood is about to find out. Things really started heating up after I swapped the water for well sludge. I won't lie. It felt a little risky, but honestly, I was fed up with HOA Karen thinking she could just take whatever she wanted without consequences. After the switch, I waited to see if she'd notice or say anything, but at first, she just carried on like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, rumors started spreading around the neighborhood about weird smells and murky water near her yard. People began whispering, wondering if something was off. But here's where it gets more complicated. Some neighbors are on Karen's side. They've been part of the HOA for years and really believe she's just looking out for the community. They say I'm overreacting or stirring up drama, and that I should just let it go. Others, though, are quietly relieved someone finally called her out, even if it's in a sneaky way. The whole neighborhood vibe shifted. Suddenly, the water dispute wasn't just about a slip and slide anymore. It became a symbol of bigger issues: entitlement, respect, and who really has power around here. To make things messier, Karen started asking around, trying to figure out who was behind the sludge prank. I kept my cool, but it felt like walking on thin ice. Then there's the HOA board meeting coming up, where everything might explode or get swept under the rug. No one knows how this will end, but one thing's for sure: this isn't just a silly water fight anymore. It's a full-on neighborhood showdown, and the stakes are higher than ever. The tension in the neighborhood was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every glance felt loaded. Every casual chat seemed to carry a hidden meaning. HOA Karen was on high alert, her usual confident, take-charge attitude replaced by something more jittery, almost desperate. She kept showing up at neighbors' doors, asking if they knew anything about the water problem, but nobody was giving her straight answers. It was like a silent game of who'd crack first. Meanwhile, the HOA board meeting was fast approaching, and everyone knew it would be the place where all the simmering frustrations would finally boil over. People whispered about what might happen. Would Karen try to defend herself, or would she accuse someone else? Would I finally get a chance to speak up, or would the whole thing get swept under the rug like so many HOA disputes do? There was a buzz in the air, and even some of the quieter neighbors were gearing up to attend. On top of that, the mysterious sludge kept causing problems. A few kids who played near Karen's yard complained about a weird smell and some slippery patches on the grass, raising suspicions even higher. Social media posts started popping up from neighbors sharing cryptic hints about the situation, fueling the gossip mill. I was ready, but honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect next. Would this all blow up in my face or finally bring some justice? The entire neighborhood was holding its breath. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more intense, a new twist hit like a bombshell. Out of nowhere, another neighbor came forward, someone I never expected to get involved. They claimed they had proof that HOA Karen wasn't just using my well water for her slip and slide. Apparently, she'd been secretly tapping into multiple neighbors' water supplies to fill what she called her community garden and other personal projects. Suddenly, it wasn't just about one slip and slide or one property line. It was a whole pattern of entitlement and misuse, right under everyone's noses. This revelation sent shockwaves through the neighborhood. People who had been on Karen's side started questioning everything, and the ones already against her felt vindicated, but even more anxious. The HOA meetings took on a new urgency, and some board members quietly started distancing themselves from Karen. Meanwhile, rumors were swirling faster than ever on social media, and the neighborhood group chats were exploding with heated debates about water rights, HOA power, and personal boundaries. The stakes were higher than ever. If the accusations were true, Karen could face serious consequences, but she wasn't going down without a fight. She doubled down on her entitlement, making public statements claiming she was being unfairly targeted and that the community was against her. It felt like the neighborhood was on the edge of an all-out showdown, and no one knew how or when it would explode. The next HOA meeting promised to be the most dramatic yet, and I was right in the middle of it all, waiting to see if the truth would finally come out or if the whole thing would spiral even further out of control. The day of the HOA meeting finally arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Every neighbor packed into the small community room, eyes darting nervously as everyone waited to see how things would unfold. Karen took the floor first, trying to keep her usual confident tone, but there was a noticeable edge of defensiveness. She denied everything at first, saying the accusations were baseless and mean-spirited. But then someone handed over the evidence, a series of photos and water usage records showing her unauthorized taps into multiple wells, including mine. The room went silent. The day of the HOA meeting finally arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Every neighbor packed into the small community room, eyes darting nervously as everyone waited to see how things would unfold. Karen took the floor first, trying to keep her usual confident tone, but there was a noticeable edge of defensiveness. She denied everything at first, saying the accusations were baseless and mean-spirited. But then someone handed over the evidence, a series of photos and water usage records showing her unauthorized taps into multiple wells, including mine. The room went silent. With the proof laid out, I spoke up calmly, explaining how her actions affected more than just my property, that it was about respect, boundaries, and fairness in our community. Slowly, others joined in, sharing their own stories of frustration. The HOA board had no choice but to vote on consequences, and Karen was suspended from the board pending further investigation. It felt like justice was finally served. But just when it seemed the drama was over, a neighbor raised their hand with a shocking claim. They'd found evidence that the well sludge I swapped in had come from a drainage issue caused by faulty HOA pipes, meaning the problem was bigger and more complicated than just Karen's actions. Suddenly, the whole community realized this wasn't just about one entitled person, it was about deeper infrastructure problems and how they'd all been ignored for too long. The room buzzed with a mix of relief and new worry. The fight wasn't over. It had just taken a surprising new direction. After that unexpected revelation about the drainage issue, the whole neighborhood shifted gears. What started as a battle over HOA Karen's misuse of well water turned into a wake-up call for all of us. The board agreed to bring in professionals to inspect and fix the faulty pipes, making sure everyone's water supply was protected going forward. It was clear that the problems ran deeper than just one person's entitlement. There were real infrastructure issues that needed urgent attention. Karen's suspension sent a strong message about accountability, but it also showed how important it is for communities to communicate and work together before things escalate. Some neighbors who had stayed quiet spoke up, realizing they'd been affected by the water problems without even knowing it. The whole experience brought the neighborhood closer, and many of us vowed to be more aware and involved with HOA decisions. Looking back, this wasn't just about water or slip and slides, it was about respect, boundaries, and standing up when something's wrong. If there's one thing I hope everyone takes from this story, it's that entitlement only leads to trouble, but honest conversations and collective action can fix even the messiest situations. Thanks for following along. There's always more to these neighborhood stories than meets the eye.